Okay. Remember to turn the recording on. So I will now call to order the Board of Trustees meeting for July 21st, 2020. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Chamberlain,
Here.
Trustee Clayton,
Here.
Trustee Goldstein,
I'm here.
Trustee Haber, Trustee Haber. I see you.
I don't know what's going on.
There you are. Okay, thank you. Trustee Hollander,
Here.
Trustee Jamerson,
Here.
President Norris.
Here. All right, all are present, so we have a quorum. First item of business is approval of the minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting for July 7th, 2020. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any additions or corrections?
I have one.
Yes.
In the paragraph, that's the first paragraph under visitors wishing to address the board. It says Trustee Clayton received an email, and I think it should say several of the trustees received an email.
Well, but Mike, what did you say was the thing? We know you received it, and I do, and it is true that others received it as well.
He did say that others received the email when he
Okay.
was talking about it.
Because I know he thought I did too, so that's fine. Any other additions or changes, Rick?
On page 9 of 55, the changes that were made to the roads and land use report by Trustee Hollander, I think there's a typo in there. It says the county is going to use the updated and drainage plan. I think that and should be deleted. That doesn't make sense.
I think it's AN, that it would be an updated drainage plan, maybe.
Could be, but the way it's
I see what you're saying. The and it doesn't
written,
fit.
it doesn't
Yes,
make
it is.
sense.
But I think that's probably the way it should read, is an updated rather than the updated. Now that
Okay, I would buy that. I mean, Trustee Hollander is the one who probably corrected that the first time, so maybe he could chime in on that.
I'm fine with the correction that you suggested.
I mean, that's the basic message, is that they're using the updated. Any other?
The way that I read that was
Yeah.
the county is going to use the updated and drainage plan, the updated plan and drainage
Okay.
plan with larger capacity. So I left it.
It's actually an updated drainage plan.
Okay. So the county is going to use the updated drainage plan. I'm just going to remove the and then.
Either delete the and or change, or delete the and in any event, and that will take care of it.
I will do that.
Okay, any other changes? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
Trustee Clayton,
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
Trustee Haber. Okay. Mayor, does that count? If I can see him but not hear him?
So you can't hear me, apparently.
Now I can hear
Now
you.
we can hear him again, so.
I didn't do anything different,
So weird.
You should have
Okay.
paid your electric bill, Mike.
apparently.
Trustee Hollander,
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
All right, minutes are approved. Ecologist report, he is not here this evening. Treasurer's report, Hal indicated that he accepted the invitation to the meeting, so he certainly knows about it. I don't know if he's just not been able to make it. Mike, do you have anything you?
Well, we didn't get statements are not out yet, so he doesn't have the most current cash report. So we're probably going to have to do all that at the next
Right.
board.
Okay, engineers report.
Just a couple of quick updates. I did reach out to the gentleman at 2375 Riverwoods Road. He came before the board a few meetings back. His well was going bad, and we were trying to figure out how to help him. I contacted him after that meeting, and I gave him a number of engineers that he could coordinate with. He's still in process of vetting or coordinating with engineers, but at least I let him know that we hadn't forgotten about him and we're the ball's in his court on that. And then just the lift station modernization that the county's doing for us is coming along. We're pretty close with the Timbers lift station, so we'll be moving to get organized. The Meadow Lake lift station is next on the list, so we're starting to get organized, and we'll be moving over there when we finish up Timbers. So that's all I have.
Any questions for the engineer, Rick?
I have a question. So Pat, those lift station improvements are things that the village is doing? We're paying for those?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions for the engineer? Yeah.
Pat, are you going to need a telephone at the Meadow Lake lift station?
Yes, I asked Mike today. He said to hold on getting the telephone installed there. So at the Timbers station, that they installed, they have it all set up. They've got the conduit there. Everything's ready to accept the phone line. We're going to tear out most of what's at Meadow Lake and replace it all. So it'll make more sense to bring Comcast out once the new box is installed.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for the chief? Excuse me, for the engineer. The chief was just asking a question. Okay, Director of Community Services report. We do not have a report this evening. The Zoning Board of Appeals, there's no report. Plan Commission.
How's this now?
Much better.
All right. The zoning board does not have a report, but it will be meeting on July 30, Thursday, July 30. Well, Zoom meeting. And we should agenda out with the Zoom instructions. I know the mayor can send them around to you all. The subject of the hearing is a variation request by a property on West Course. The subject of it really is that there was a subdivision, another lot was created as the house on the second lot is being sited and developed. I think the driveway for that new house, the applicant is asking that it be less than 20 feet away from the property line on the side yard. We have a requirement that the driveway be 20 feet away. This driveway would be approximately 10 feet. It seemed odd that for new construction, it would be a hardship. How does that arise? And they were advised of this, but they went ahead and applied for the variation. And I think it has to do with some of the unusual site characteristics on the site. Currently, the owner of the two lots that are side by side is the same owner. So he's trying to prepare the second lot to be sold and wants the driveway to be in a place that makes the most sense for the second house, I think. That's just sort of in a nutshell what's involved. It's a setback requirement for a driveway that's the issue for the zoning board. And so we've sent out notices to people within 300 feet as per our ordinance. We published a notice in the Deerfield Review with the Zoom instructions for participating in the Zoom call. Because it's a hearing, unlike just a public meeting, we have to be able to take testimony. So we will allow people who join us by Zoom to participate. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure how we could have testimony and have someone with the ability to cross-examine the applicant or its expert. So it'll be a little tricky because, of course, we're not used to it or very skilled at doing it. But we have done everything we can to comply with the requirements for notice and publication so far. Yes, Rick?
Did you say that they are currently building a house there, or is he just getting this ready to? Because it kind of makes a difference whether they're building a house or they're just thinking they're going to put a house there.
They've submitted for permits, and we flagged the zoning variance as necessary to issue the permits.
So it is a strange case, but it has to go. They wanted to apply. They understand the requirements, and they're entitled to have their application heard. So, we'll see what the zoning board does, and their advisory to the village board. So whatever they do, will be coming back to the village board. The Plan Commission has really not met through all of the COVID stuff yet, but I think we may start resuming with Zoom meetings now. I think we've sort of caught our breath and sort of have an idea of what to do. I've actually the topics that were before the Plan Commission had to do with adjusting the definition of family to make it more modern, be prepared for group homes. All of a sudden, an influx of group homes seems problematical for now, but it won't always be. So we'll probably need to take it up again soon. So right now there's no report, but I think the Plan Commission intends to start resuming Zoom meetings as the board has been doing. Don't tell me that to the village attorney's report.
Okay, well, I was going to jump back because I see our treasurer has logged on.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
do you have anything you want to tell us?
Yes, I've got an update as of this morning. As of right now, I think the position is actually very good. I'll give you the current rates to give you an idea of where we're at. The current treasuries are 0.14% for a year. Even if you go out 3 years, they're at 0.17. The life of our portfolio is right around 1.18 years. So we're going to have a lot coming up, but in the next 90 days, we only have $245,000 maturing, which I think is good considering the current rates. Our yield on the entire portfolio of roughly 10 million invested is 1.94. So in an environment where we're renewing at very, very low rates, our prior rates on a comparative basis, I think are outstanding for the balance of the portfolio. Of course, you wish we had more maturing a lot farther out, but 90 days is a pretty good window in that regard. The portfolio is made up. Currently, we are at 68% CDs, 23% corporate paper, 5.4 municipals, and 3% treasuries. The ratings, as far as where we're at, which I probably never even looked or quoted that, I should say, in terms of where we're at, but in a days of wanted safety, I think there's a I'm looking at the percentage, we're at about 8% or 10% that might be considered triple B rated. Everything else is above that, A, AA, AAA, and treasury backed. So we've got basically 90% of the portfolio in highly rated, as safe as can be situations. And through today, has not been a default or lack of payment or maturity on any of the CDs too, which were a little bit subject, but they're backed and were collateralized. So all in all, the portfolio's well. If the rates stay the way they are, of course, we will be dipping down below that 1.94 rate. If they don't increase in the next year, we'll bring it down probably by half of that. Otherwise, we're good. We're good in terms of security, flow. We're yielding, just as for budget purposes, about $180,000 annually on our portfolio.
Well, all things considered, we're doing a lot better than average now, so it's good to hear that.
Yeah.
Any questions for the treasurer? Okay, then thanks, Hal. Moving forward, I probably should go back to our attorney, but I will ask for the police report from the normal schedule.
I can make it quick. You have the activity since the last meeting in your packets, and that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for the chief? If not, attorney's report.
Just a little bit before our meeting, we received an email from the developer of the Thornton's project with a lot of detail recounting of the work that they've done, estimated budgets, estimated costs. Apparently, they'd like to talk to us about adjusting our agreement because the cost for them to do their work is higher than they thought or that the agreement anticipated. We don't know. It's very preliminary. I haven't read the stuff. Pat's going to do an analysis. Our working group will get together and we'll talk about it and see what they say. But I think this was what I expected them to do, was to do a lot of due diligence and then to come back to us. I mean, they told me as much, 4 months ago. I think the good sign is that from the looks of it, they did do a lot of due diligence. They did engage engineers. They did engage people. They did work. And we may not like having to, talk back with them and work at it, but it's much better than they're calling us up and saying, we lost interest. So that's all I can say about that now. I don't know if anyone else I forwarded the email to has seen it yet, but it's really needing to see what was included in it, just some spreadsheets and some budgets and some ideas of what the cost and everything. And we'll take a look and get back to you. On other news, Nathan's not here, but we got a second, I would guess, a fairly major or significant revision of the audited statements from Miller Cooper draft statements, where they've made a number of corrections. I just had a few. I think Nathan's done the lion's share of the work on that. Mike, I don't know if you've been involved, but they look like they're coming closer into focus. So hopefully those will be moving along. That's all I have.
Are there any questions for the attorney? All right, hearing none. Comments from the president. First item is the request from Doro Guo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize to her if I am not. This is the email that Trustee Clayton mentioned at the last meeting. I believe it was addressed to all of the trustees, although I think one or two of the email addresses were incorrect, so you may not have seen it originally. It was not addressed to me. As it noted in the comment section with the packet, she's asking, I guess individually, the trustees to join in a petition to ask the administration at Stevenson, of which she is a graduate, to take certain actions. But Trustee Clayton, you asked to have this on, so let me turn it over to you at this point.
I guess I'm not necessarily, as an official of the village, predisposed to sign a student petition. On the other hand, I do think that the incidents that were described by her, if true, are concerning, and that it might be worthwhile, if the board agrees, to have a letter by the village sent to the superintendent and principal, encouraging them to investigate and take whatever action that seems appropriate to them, because it is important that our children's education is conducted in a non-toxic environment and free of discrimination of any kind. So I guess my thought was that we, as a village, rather than individual trustees, send a letter to the superintendent and principal.
I guess there's nothing very specific in her email, which makes me reluctant to go too far as a village. Certainly the individual trustees, we all support the basic message, obviously.
Did you read the attachment to the memo? Because there were very specific.
I'm not sure that I got anything beyond her email.
Yeah, and there was a petition. The petition was attached to the email as well, and that's pretty relevant.
Okay. Mike, if there's enough detail, et cetera, please forward it to me anyway. And if appropriate, I certainly will perhaps draft something and run it by the board. I don't want to take an action engaging with another entity without A, making sure that it's either me individually or B, the board is on board if I'm doing it on behalf of the village. Because again, without knowing more of the specifics, I just don't know that we want to go too far any more than we'd want somebody to go without into what we're doing without having specifics. Cheryl, you're still on. Did you want to say
Yeah.
a little more?
So I agree with Trustee Clayton that we as community officials have an interest in seeing that all of our students are treated fairly. I am neither in the Stevenson district, nor do I know anything about this, and so I wouldn't want to, me personally, I wouldn't want to sign anything simply because I don't feel like I'm in that community. But as a government official, it might be worth inquiry because I really don't know anything about this. Obviously, something occurred where it was really upsetting to a lot of people. We've also, in the past, hesitated to tell other governmental bodies what to do. However, I think it would potentially be appropriate as a mere matter of inquiry on our behalf.
Well, certainly,
On behalf of our citizens.
we have enough students that do attend Stevenson that I don't mind making an inquiry. But again, I'd like to see the petition so I have a little more understanding as to what's being talked about. As it is, all I saw was that there was some anti-blackness, and again, that's a very open statement.
There were some, even reading, I read the petition, so even reading the petition, it still, you get an idea of what happened, but it's really not enough information.
Right, well, but it may be enough to at least support asking them and ask them what's happened. So let me see what it is and we'll go from there.
John, can I assume you're going to
Yes.
bring this back to the board before you do anything?
Yes. If I'm writing a letter on behalf of the village, I will circulate something and ask for input of some kind, approval, etc. But if it's coming from the village, I want to make sure that we're all on board as much as possible. Rick?
There is a link to a Instagram site on that as well that has a bunch of anonymous comments by students at Stevenson about things that have happened to them. And so you might want to take a look at that. It's quite lengthy, but you might want to take a look at that as well before you make a decision.
Well, again, depending on the petition, as long as what we're doing is just saying we'd like to know what's going on, etc. I think maybe we can go there, but let me investigate a little bit, take a crack at something if I believe it's appropriate, and we'll go from there. Anyone else have any comments? Okay, then next item is something we can't vote on because I got the name too late. But it's the appointment of Betty DeHooey to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Obviously, with COVID, anybody will search for anything to do to get out of the house or at least get involved in something. I think that's how Mike talked her into it. What I'm going to ask her to do is participate in the next Zoning Board of Appeals meeting other than voting, because technically I think she shouldn't do that. But certainly, since they are public meetings, there would be no reason she shouldn't be able to have input there. And then I'll ask for a formal approval at the next meeting. So Betty, let me say thank you on behalf of all of us. This is probably the hardest one because you got to be ready to get a call, although it's not quite a moment's notice. But I think this is the third zoning board of appeals matter that has been here since I've been on the board. Mr. Haber, you may have had another one or two, but I think only 3 or 4 in our tenure sounds about right. So still, it's got to be done when it's necessary. So are there any visitors wishing to address the board? Okay, no, and there are no emails. So approval of bills. Do I have a motion for approval of bills?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any comment? Yes, Rick.
I have 2 things. First of all, the Comcast cable bill, which is number 63 under general on page 1 of the report. Those are the same bill. The $543.73 and the $90 are it's a photocopy of the same bill. So we should only pay one of those.
Right.
Unless Bruce, and they came from Bruce. So unless Bruce knows some reason why we would be paying both of those bills. I mean, they have the same dates on them and everything. So
I gave her a second copy because I think she said she was missing something on the first one I gave her. So somehow they both got in the pile. So
Well, I'll check on it and make sure.
no, it's only one bill.
Well, no, but I mean, as to what happened, it could be that with Joanne leaving, that was in at first, and then Susie did it again, but it still should have been caught before it got to the board. Cheryl?
I had already sent these questions in, so I don't,
Yes.
but I don't know if you received them.
The note about the late bills from ComEd?
Oh, no, that's another thing.
Okay.
Uh, no, one was, there were several bills that were sent to me that I don't usually see. So I just replied back that, check in with you as to who's
Okay.
supposed to look at which bills. But then I had two questions. One is Elk Grove Graphics. Those are duplicate bills, and it looks like we're paying them twice because there's a total that adds both of them together. But as far as I could tell, the bills were exactly the same time period and everything.
Okay, I will double check on that too then.
Okay, and then my other one was, I believe we're paying, for those who do not have a village cell phone, we're paying $50.
Right,
But there was a check made to Henry that was more than 50. And unless it was for something else, I think that was just a mistake.
Henry, did you have something besides your cell phone?
Probably, if it was exactly $100, it was probably 2 months.
No, it was 83.
83.39.
Right, there you go.
Because I was,
If they did, I don't remember receiving it.
they haven't cut the check yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
good. I have absolutely no idea
yeah.
why I
I
would be
think
getting $83.
Yeah, I think Henry sent in his bill and then we just automatically just pay the $50. And I think that,
Maybe we picked up the whole bill or something. I'll
Right,
double check
that-
that too.
I think that's what happened.
So I have one more. I mean,
Yes,
I was going to ask the same question about that bill, but I have another question that is over. And once again, it's because a bill was in my folder that I don't normally see. And which is fine because sometimes the late ones she sticks in mind because I sign them at the last minute. Anyways, North Shore Gas for the Village Hall. I thought that we were not supposed to get charged for gas or electric at the Village Hall.
We
That's
get electric. I think gas we do pay. I'll
Okay.
double check that.
I thought that.
I think it's only electric too.
Okay.
I thought for some time it was that way, but then I remember seeing the bill and asking about it. So I'll double check, Rick, just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that's where it is.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
And looking at that Elk Grove, I see that it's got an extra 3 in one of those numbers, although they are the same date and the same amount, which is enough to make me wonder for the Village Voice. So I think it's doesn't look right anyway, but I do notice there's a difference in those numbers. So, okay. Any other?
Yeah.
Yes, Henry?
There's a bill in there for our county for Miller Cooper for
Yes.
a little bit less than 20,000. Is that a monthly charge or is that accumulated charge?
That's,
It's an ongoing charge. It's not a monthly charge. They're just billing us through as they do the audit. There's a regular charge in there, and then there's an additional $2,500 that's in that bill. And Nathan and I are investigating the $2,500, but the rest of it is the normal billing.
I don't think it's the annual cost of the audit. The annual cost is 20-something thousand, Henry. So I think what they did is, having submitted the draft with only our few edits now remaining, they probably just billed us for the entire audit at this point.
I don't think so. I don't think that's right.
You don't think so?
There's more coming because they had to put in a lot of extra time because of having to do it remotely. And so Nathan expects there to be additional billing.
but Trustee Clayton had already made a note to me that he was holding the check until he and Nathan were satisfied as to what was being done and what the costs were.
There's also,
I guess the point I'm just trying to make is that it's not a recurring cost. I might be wrong that it's I thought it was most of the total bill, but the annual charges are supposed to be in something like that range, right, Mike? They're somewhere in there
Yes.
before the,
My other question is that there's another accounting charge by Lauder and, I don't know, Amen. Is
Lauder,
that for a
Beck, and
different, though, for different entities that the village has?
Yes, yes. That's Nathan, bill that we pay for the Director of Finances. So it's two separate, there's no duplication under that. Okay, any other questions? All right, we have then a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
Trustee Clayton,
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
Trustee Haber,
Aye.
Trustee Hollander,
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Moving on to action items. First order item of business is an ordinance establishing the Village of Riverwood Special Service Area number 34 for road improvements benefiting certain properties on Kingswood Court. Council?
well, the board has seen the ordinance before, basically, because it's the same ordinance that proposed this SSA that was adopted months ago. We had the hearing in June, and since the hearing, we've received petitions from 7 of the 9 properties, which qualifies it to be formed as an SSA. So this second ordinance, we call the establishing ordinance, essentially is the same as what you've seen before. It just now says, instead of proposing the formation, it says that this SSA is hereby established. The same terms as, nothing has changed since you've seen the proposing ordinance in terms of setting a maximum annual levy, setting a potential bond issue, a maximum bond issue. We did learn that the interest rate on the bonds right now would be approximately 2.3 to 2.5%. I mean, that was a number, a range given to me a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, it depends on the market, but interest rates aren't moving very much. So even though the ordinance authorized a maximum interest rate that was much higher, everyone was very pleased, I think, to learn that financing costs are quite attractive right now. So in theory, it would be nice to have a waiver of first reading and adoption at second reading. And then the next steps would be coordinating an actual bond ordinance with the bank. Northside Community Bank has offered to acquire the bond from us, and coordinate with Pat, Glenn. We'll probably wait to finalize the bond ordinance till we get bids back and actually see what the construction numbers are. So bond ordinance might not be back to you until the second meeting in August. Pat, I don't know if you have a sense of that, but.
Yeah, and I'm still coordinating, we're trying to bring Kennelwood along with it. So there's still a bit of cat herding going on, getting it all together. But I'll put together a bid schedule and award schedule, but we're going to have to finalize it very soon.
Rick?
Can I ask a question now, or should I wait?
You can ask it now. I mean,
I think there's something missing in the property identification numbers on page, and tell me if I'm wrong, but on page 39 and 55, there's 11 numbers shown. And on the actual listing of property index numbers on page 41, there's 12. 024 is missing on the first set. And I'm wondering, the benefit factor, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 properties with a 1 benefit factor. There's 2. And I think 24 is missing from that list. Am I wrong, Bruce?
Give me a second. So one of the properties had 3 pens, and we gave a benefit factor of 1 to only 1 of the 3.
Right. But 24 is missing from, 024 is missing.
I see that. It's the joys of working remotely. Well,
No, I'm okay with making a, a motion to approve it with that correction made, but I
That
just,
would be preferable. There are one property, if I have my,
The 024 property definitely should be included with a benefit factor of 1.
that guy's gonna be mad.
no, it was, let's make that change. There should be, because there should be 9 properties with a benefit factor of 1.
Yeah,
9,
there's only 8 listed.
yeah.
So do we make that motion on waiving first reading, or do we waive first reading and then make that motion on
Waive
second?
first reading and then make it as a motion that's being dealt with substantively.
Okay, well then I make a motion that we waive first reading on an ordinance establishing the Village of Riverwood Special Service Area number 34 for road improvements benefiting certain properties on Kingswood Court.
Second.
Any additional comment? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
Trustee Clayton,
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
Trustee Haber,
Aye.
Trustee Hollander,
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That's a waiving of first reading. We now need a motion for second reading adoption of the ordinance establishing the Village of Riverwood Special Service Area number 34 for road improvements benefiting certain properties on Kingswood Court. And I would ask that that motion include modifying the ordinance to include property number 15-25-402-024 with a benefit factor of 1.
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Not, roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain,
Aye.
Trustee Clayton,
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein, Trustee Haber,
Aye.
Trustee Hollander,
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Ordinance 200612.
07? 07?
Thank you. 0712.
Thanks. Thank you, Rick.
All right, then, moving on. Item B is approval of the memorandum of understanding with Brushwood Center at Ryerson Woods. This is what was approved last meeting, subject to the actual written agreement. Council worked on that, was presented, copy was sent to Brushwood. As you see, I think I attached the email where they said they found it acceptable. They did ask if we would lower the insurance from 5 million to 4, which is what they have in place. And I believe that would be reasonable. So I now throw it open to discussion. Or for a motion.
I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding and allow it to be executed.
Second.
Discussion?
I just want to make a comment that, because I want to make sure that it gets in the minutes, that I believe that this is basically just a disguised donation to Brushwood in the amount of $20,000 that circumvented our normal charitable contribution policy. And I don't understand why it did that. I don't understand why we're treating it differently than just a charitable contribution, like every other charity that comes to the village and seeks a contribution. This is nothing other than a contribution. And so I just want the record to be clear that that's my position on this. This shouldn't have had a special process. It should have gone through the regular policy that the Village of Riverwood's established before making charity donations.
So noted. Are there any other comments? Yeah, Cheryl? You're still muted, Cheryl.
I know, I had to.
Got to
change
find
my
the button.
I had to change my screen. I wanted to note that we have already talked with Brushwood about developing a program specifically for Riverwoods, which is scheduled August 8th. It is a nature walk, and the goal will be to help people learn to identify both beneficial and undesirable flora throughout Riverwoods. So, and this program is specifically for Riverwoods residents and was developed for Riverwoods residents.
And social distancing will be maintained. Right, any other
Absolutely, as well as other
precautions?
considerations, masks, hand sanitizers, et cetera. They have a list of things that they normally do and will be doing for this event as well.
Any other comments? Hearing none, roll call, please. On a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding. Is that with the $4 million change, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Is that accepted by the seconding? Yes, okay. So roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain.
Aye.
Trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein.
Nay.
Trustee Haber.
Nay.
Trustee Hollinger.
Nay.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
President Norris.
Aye. Okay. There is no old business. We do have need to go into executive session. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order while we're still in general session? Hearing none, then can I have a motion? Oh, yes, Henry. You're still muted.
You mentioned this walk. I just found out about it a couple hours ago speaking to John, but if this is going to be our first foray with the Brushwood Center for something to do with the Riverwoods residents, I don't know how many people even know this is coming up August 8th.
Henry, I've talked with the chief, and we're going to put it out on an e-blast and a few other things, but yes, we do need to be getting the information out to people.
Okay.
Can I just, if we're going to go into executive session, I just want to remind the board, if it's okay, Mayor, to
Yes.
a few of our requirements. Normally, we're required to keep an audio or video recording of the closed meeting minutes of the session. And so in this case, we're going to sort of start and stop the recording, or the mayor has a way of keeping the proceedings recorded separately, but they will be recorded, just so everyone knows that. And then normally when we go into executive session, we give the reason for why we're doing it, and there's a roll call vote. And then when we convene again in the closed session, we'll call the roll again and again, repeat the reason why we're going into closed session. I just wanted to remind you all of that because it's a little awkward. We're here on Zoom.
I need a motion to go into executive session subject to the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body. So that's Illinois 5 ILCS 120, section 2, subparagraph C, subparagraph 1.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Do I have a
Or
second?
second, either one.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain.
Aye.
Trustee Clayton.
Mike, you're muted.
Sorry. Aye.
It's okay, thank you. Trustee Goldstein.
Aye.
Trustee Haber.
Aye.
Trustee Hollinger.
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
All right, I will now ask the visitors. I see Mr. Glenn is already gone, so I guess that would be Hal and Betty. Oh, Betty's gone, and Hal. And then I will